Town Hall on Black freedom and faith. Minister Sanders.
So it's been so many wonderful Juneteenth events going on, which is good, but we need something. I felt from the faith perspective, so servants of the faith community, not just Christian, but also the Islamic faith, to come together to be able to dialogue with the community to see exactly what's being done. Me personally, I say it all the time, I keep saying it, speaking from the church, because I am a minister, not because it sounds good, and I think that the church as a whole has dropped the ball, and the black church has failed us. And that's a harsh pill to swallow, but it's the truth. And they say you can judge a tree by the fruit it bears. You can judge it, you know what I'm saying, these churches by the communities that they sit in. And most churches, their number one perspective is to just, of course, take care of the parishioners, but it's more than that. If you're going to say you're going to follow Christ, if you're a Christian, Christ is a servant of the people. He was a revolutionary. And so I don't understand how you can say you're a revolutionary or you're a follower of Christ and you're not doing nothing in the community. And you see that not just in Las Vegas, but Detroit, Chicago, all cities, where the preacher comes in a Rolls Royce, church look like a palace. He don't even live in the city that he preaches in. That's fine. I mean, it is what it is. But it's one thing not to live in your community, but if your church is in a community and you're not getting out and about, your church next to a dope house, you ain't going inside the dope house to get them off drugs. But if the dope dealer come in, a dope fiend come with the money, you take the money. And so churches become, to me, like a social club. And if it's going to be a social club, then say that. Don't call your church a missionary, because the root word of missionary is mission. So your mission should not be to just save souls, but it's also to rebuild the soul as a overall active situation. And it's hard for somebody to hit a word on an empty stomach. Nobody's coming to church and they got bills to pay. I've had preachers tell me that, well, church, my focus is to focus on the four walls of the church. Then don't call yourself a preacher. Call yourself an entertainer. Because if you're a preacher, your job is to be concerned in the community. Before you was called the pastor, you was a minister, which means servant. And so churches become a social club, which means we pay a tithe and offering, which is like a admission fee. We get a good message. We get entertained. Depending on what church you go to, you may get a fish dinner and some ice cream afterwards, and that's fine. Call your church what it is. It's a social club. But if you're going to call it a church, that's a strong word. Because Jesus didn't come to build churches. He came to build people. And so if your church is not building people, then what are you doing? And so it's time for church accountability. And so this forum, Freedom and Faith for Juneteenth Town Hall and Black Freedom and Faith at Victory Baptist Church, Monday, June 18th, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., is going to open up that door. It's going to be some toes stepped on, and that's fine. Sometimes we don't always got to agree, you know what I'm saying? But the truth's the truth. And you can't negate what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? I've met with preachers who've told me, not just in Vegas, but when I travel different places, and most of them, their mindsets is just about the four walls of their church. They don't leave the pulpit. If you see back in the day, Dr. King, we forget he was Reverend King first. You know what I'm saying? His whole entourage was ministers, and they was about that life. You see, nowadays, it's like they say, like, Stretch is an activist and a minister. That don't even make no sense. If you're a minister, activist supposed to come with that. Because the root word of activist is act. So what are you acting on? And so like I said, if you're not going to be active, don't call yourself a servant of Christ. Call yourself an entertainer. And don't call your church a church. It's a social club.
Okay. So we're tying this freedom and faith around Juneteenth. And when we get to the root of Juneteenth, are we going to share information and history of Juneteenth and then bring it all home?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because people have taken the term Juneteenth, and to me, Juneteenth obviously is our real Independence Day as far as Africans in America.
That's right.
4th of July, we were slaves like a mug in 1776. That was like if you equivalent to Jordan in his prime, we was slaves for real, and so that's not our Independence Day. Juneteenth is the day we should celebrate, and so we always want to not just use these terms as a banner to bring folks in as a PR attempt, but actually educate. And so the goal is to talk about the role that the church has played historically. Even when Juneteenth, they got that last call that freedom was emancipated.
When Gordon Granger came, that's his name. Gordon Granger came riding in to Texas. Yeah.
It was churches that was involved. It was a church. It was a church that got them through this. And so we want to have that definitely highlight. That's why I wanted the whole panel to be full of clergy, men and women, all denominations.
Yes.
And so we can not just talk about, like I said, what's going on now, but talk about the history of Juneteenth.
Yeah.
And let's not get caught up in